unbelievable pain, you will be able to say, hey.
If you grew up watching The Crocodile Hunter, then Bindi Irwin probably feels like someone you've known forever. She was the little girl standing beside Steve Irwin, surrounded by wildlife, cameras, courage, and that unforgettable Irwin energy. To the world, she was sunshine, strength, and conservation royalty. But behind that bright smile, Bindi was hiding something far more painful than most people ever imagined. For years, while she was filming, working at Australia Zoo, raising awareness for wildlife, building a family, and carrying her father's legacy on her shoulders, Bindi was quietly fighting a private battle inside her own body. And when she finally opened up about what had really been happening behind the scenes, the internet didn't just react with shock. People listened, because her story exposed a truth millions of women know far too well. Bindi Sue Irwin was born on July 24, 1998, in Buderim, Queensland, Australia. She is the daughter of the late Steve Irwin, the world-famous crocodile hunter, and Terri Irwin, who became a powerful conservation figure in her own right. Even Bindi's name carries the kind of meaning only Steve Irwin could give it. Bindi came from his favorite crocodile at Australia Zoo, and Sue was inspired by his beloved dog, Sway. From the very beginning, Bindi's life was anything but ordinary. She grew up at Australia Zoo in Birva, Queensland, surrounded by crocodiles, koalas, snakes, birds, and cameras. While most children were growing up in regular neighborhoods, Bindi was growing up in a world where wildlife wasn't just something to admire from a distance. It was family. It was purpose. It was legacy. She was homeschooled so she could balance education with zoo life and television commitments, and she was in front of cameras before most children even fully understand what fame means. At just 8 years old, she launched her own wildlife documentary series, Bindi the Jungle Girl, on Discovery Kids. The show became a major success, but what happened next made her story even more remarkable. Bindi won a Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Performer in a Children's Series, becoming the youngest performer ever to win that award at the time. She was only 9 years old. While other kids her age were still figuring out who they wanted to be, Bindi was already becoming one of the most recognizable young conservation voices in the world. Then, in 2015, she stepped into a completely different spotlight when she competed on Dancing with the Stars in the United States. And once again, she proved she was not just Steve Irwin's daughter. She was a force of her own. With Derek Hough as her partner, Bindi won the Mirrorball Trophy and showed the world a different side of herself: emotional, disciplined, graceful, and deeply resilient. Over the years, she continued starring in Crikey! It's the Irwins with her mother Terri and her brother Robert. In 2024, Bindi and Robert were also named Earthshot Prize ambassadors, adding another powerful chapter to their family's conservation work. Today, Bindi is known as a conservationist, author, Emmy winner, reality TV champion, mother, and CEO of Australia Zoo. From the outside, it looked like a life full of purpose, love, and strength. She married American wakeboarder Chandler Powell on March 20, 2020, at Australia Zoo. A year later, on March 25, 2021, they welcomed their daughter, Grace Warrior Irwin Powell. It seemed like Bindi had built a beautiful life around family, wildlife, and legacy. But what the world saw on the outside was only part of the story. Behind the public appearances, behind the camera-ready smile, behind the animal encounters and family moments, Bindi was living with a pain she could not explain. And for more than 10 years, she carried it almost completely in silence. This was not ordinary discomfort. It was not something that could be fixed with rest, painkillers, or a quiet day at home. Bindi described it as indescribable, inescapable pain. The kind of pain that follows you everywhere. The kind that changes how you move, how you breathe, how you sleep, and how you see yourself. She went through test after test. Doctors checked for tropical diseases, Lyme disease, cancer, and almost everything else they could think of. She had blood work. She had scans. She searched for answers again and again. But every result seemed to lead her back to the same terrifying place. No diagnosis. No explanation. No clear path forward. And then came the part that made her suffering even harder. Doctors dismissed her pain. They told her it was just part of being a woman. Imagine living with severe pain for years, asking for help, hoping someone would finally explain what was happening, only to be told that maybe this was normal. Over time, those words did damage. Bindi began to internalize them. She has spoken about feeling weak, deeply insecure, and trapped inside her own body. She started wondering if maybe she was the problem. Maybe she wasn't strong enough. Maybe she was supposed to endure it. But the truth was far more serious than that. Bindi was not weak. She was sick. And for years, her pain had been overlooked. What makes it even more heartbreaking is that Bindi could not simply disappear from public life and quietly deal with it. She had responsibilities everywhere. She was helping run a world-famous zoo. She was filming television. She was giving interviews. She was showing up for her family, her animals, her fans, and eventually her daughter. So she kept going. She kept smiling for cameras. She kept standing in front of crowds. She kept living the life people expected from Bindi Irwin, even while her own body felt like a prison. She did not want to worry people. She did not want to seem weak. She did not want her pain to become the story. But inside, she was struggling more than most people ever knew. For over a decade, she lived without a name for what was happening to her. No diagnosis. No roadmap. No community of people telling her they understood. Just pain, confusion, and the constant feeling that her body was betraying her. Then, in March 2023, everything changed. Bindi went public with a deeply personal announcement. She had been diagnosed with endometriosis. Endometriosis is a condition where tissue similar to the lining of the uterus grows outside the uterus, often affecting organs like the ovaries, fallopian tubes, and other areas of the pelvis. It can cause severe pain, especially around menstrual cycles, and it can also affect fertility. But one of the cruelest parts of this condition is how often it gets dismissed as normal period pain. For millions of women, that dismissal leads to years of suffering before anyone finally takes the pain seriously. And Bindi's story followed that same devastating pattern. After more than 10 years of symptoms, she finally had a name for what had been happening inside her body. When she underwent surgery in early March 2023, doctors removed 34 endometriosis lesions. 34. After years of being told her pain was normal, surgeons found undeniable proof that something had been seriously wrong all along. Her surgery was performed by Dr. Terri, an endometriosis specialist at Lenox Hill Hospital in New York City. Bindi later spoke openly about how important it was to find the right doctor and the right type of surgery. She highlighted excision surgery, a procedure that removes lesions more completely, rather than simply burning the surface. That detail mattered. Because by sharing it, Bindi was not just telling people what happened to her. She was giving other women information they might need in their own fight for answers. When Bindi posted about her diagnosis, the response was enormous. Women from around the world flooded her comments with messages of support, pain, recognition, and gratitude. Some told her they had lived the same story. Others said they finally felt seen. For many, hearing someone as well known as Bindi say that the pain was real gave them something they had been denied for years: validation. But Bindi's health journey did not end with that first surgery. Just when it seemed like she had finally found answers and started moving toward healing, things took another serious turn. While continuing treatment for endometriosis, Bindi needed emergency surgery in the United States. During that procedure, doctors found even more endometriosis lesions. They also removed her appendix and repaired a hernia from childbirth. One surgery. More lesions. An appendectomy. A hernia repair. All at once. Her husband, Chandler Powell, called her the strongest person he knows. And after everything Bindi had endured, it was hard to argue with that. But even that statement barely captures the reality of what she had been carrying. In a later update shared during Endometriosis Awareness Month in March 2026, Bindi revealed that, in total, more than 50 endometriosis lesions had been removed from her body over the course of her treatment. More than 50. She also shared that she had a chocolate cyst so severe it was adhering her ovary to the side of her body. That is the kind of detail that stops you for a moment. Because while all of this was happening inside her, Bindi was still living her life. She was working at the zoo. She was filming television. She was being a mother to Grace. She was smiling for photos, speaking to fans, caring for animals, and continuing the Irwin legacy. And all that time, her body was fighting a battle no one could see. That is what makes her story so powerful. Not just the pain itself, but the silence around it. The years of being told it was normal. The years of pushing through because she thought she had to. The years of performing strength while privately wondering if anyone would ever believe her. But once Bindi finally had answers, she did not keep them to herself. She turned her pain into a mission. Bindi partnered with the Endometriosis Foundation of America, also known as EndoFound, and began using her platform to raise awareness. In May 2024, she was honored at their Blossom Ball with the Blossom Award. But more important than any award was the message she kept repeating to women who were suffering. She believed them. In her March 2026 Instagram post, Bindi spoke directly to anyone living with pain and told them not to give up on themselves. Those words may sound simple, but for someone who has spent years being dismissed by doctors, family members, employers, or even their own inner voice, I believe you can feel life-changing. Because so many women with endometriosis are told the same thing Bindi was told. That pain is normal. That they are being dramatic. That they should just push through. That this is simply part of being a woman. Bindi's story challenged that idea in a very public way. Her post received thousands of comments. Fans, fellow celebrities, and women with endometriosis shared their own experiences. Dancing with the Stars professional Whitney Carson praised her bravery. Terri Irwin said she was proud of her daughter for sharing her journey. And everywhere in the comments, the same message appeared again and again. Women were tired of not being believed. One commenter said the number of women told that pain is just part of being a woman is extremely sad, and that doctors and the education system need to do better. That comment captured exactly why Bindi's story hit so hard. It was not just about one celebrity's health journey. It was about a much bigger pattern. Even Bindi's brother Robert has spoken about the importance of taking women's health seriously. He has said that women's health has been under-discussed and under-researched, and that advocates, both men and women, need to stand up and speak out. That matters. Because Bindi is not carrying this conversation alone. Her family is standing with her. Her husband is standing with her. Her mother is standing with her. Her brother is standing with her. And when the people around someone take invisible pain seriously, it can change everything. After all the surgeries, all the years of silence, and all the moments when she wondered if she would ever get answers, Bindi's transformation is not really about what people see in photos. It is much deeper than that. Some people hear the word transformation and think about appearance. They think about weight changes, bloating, inflammation, exhaustion, or the physical toll of chronic illness. And yes, endometriosis can affect the body in visible ways. It can change how someone looks, feels, and moves through the world. But Bindi's real transformation happened on the inside. She went from being a young woman who felt ashamed of her pain to someone who now speaks about it with courage. She went from believing she was weak to realizing she had been strong for far longer than anyone knew. She went from being dismissed to becoming a voice for people who are still trying to be heard. That is the part of her story that stays with you. For years, Bindi was trapped inside a body that was hurting her and a medical system that did not give her answers. Now, she is using her experience to make sure other women do not feel as alone as she once did. She has pointed people toward specialists. She has talked about the importance of proper treatment. She has supported organizations working to raise awareness. She has shared the details most people would be too afraid to say out loud. And by doing that, she has given others a roadmap. Not a perfect one. Not an easy one. But a starting point. Bindi has said that after 13 years of fighting for answers, she is finally healing. And that word carries weight when you understand what came before it. 13 years of pain. More than 50 lesions. Multiple surgeries. A decade of being dismissed. Years of wondering if the pain would ever end. Finally healing. That is why people are talking about Bindi Irwin now. Not because of scandal. Not because of drama. Not because of controversy. But because she took something painful, private, and deeply isolating, and turned it into something that could help other people. Her story matters because right now, millions of women around the world are still living some version of it. They are in pain. They are being told it is normal. They are being sent home without answers. They are wondering if anyone will ever take them seriously. And Bindi's message to them is clear. Your pain is real. You deserve answers. And you deserve to be believed. So if you or someone you love is going through something similar, do not give up. Keep asking questions. Seek out specialists. Push for answers. Trust your body when it is telling you something is wrong. Bindi Irwin spent years fighting a battle no one could see. Now that the world finally knows the truth, her story is no longer just about survival. It is about being heard.